Hello, everybody. I was thrilled to be asked to introduce our speaker today after working with Commerce for almost a dozen years now. She's a powerhouse in economic development here in Alabama with a long track record of attracting major companies and creating thousands of jobs. She's kind of like a matchmaker whose specialty is not blind dates, but setting up industries with the perfect place to call home, Alabama. We love things that are made here in Alabama, and with Ellen, the list just keeps growing. During her career at the Montgomery Chamber prior to coming to Commerce, she found ways to bring billions of dollars to Alabama, and her biggest prize being Hyundai. Always proud for that. Thank you, Ellen. But really, I want to highlight what she's been up to lately. She really hit the ground running her first year as Commerce Secretary, and it's been monumental. Let's start with the bottom line. During 2024, Alabama's economic development team landed $7 billion in projects. That's billion with a B, as our governor likes to say. Just announced last week with our new and expanding industries report. That's pretty massive for Alabama. You can learn more about that expanding jobs industry report on madeinalabama.com. She also has been busy reorganizing Commerce Department for the future and launching the Alabama Growth Alliance initiative for Governor Ivey. I could go on, but I'll just say it's surprising that Ellen actually has time for lunch with us today. So help me join me in welcoming Ellen McNair.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to grab my water here real quick. I'm glad there are so many of my partners and friends in the audience today. I am struggling in advance. I just want to apologize. I'm struggling a little bit with the pollen that's been in the air, but I'm so glad to see my partners at BBA. Thank you so much for joining me today. And of course, Lee and the partners at Alabama Power. We're just so grateful for the team that we have in the state. And that truly is the secret sauce of economic development, is working as a team. And I cannot stress enough, as John had said, my background is in local economic development. I had the honor to be asked by Governor Ivey it's been, 15 months ago, not that I'm counting the months or the days or the weeks, but 15 months ago, I've begun my journey with the Department of Commerce. So I can really say, as a local economic developer, that is where the work, the heavy lifting is done at the local level. And as I've transferred from the local level to the state level, I really wanted to bring that spirit and that attitude of supporting our local economic developers and the great work that BBA does. We want to be great partners to you and your team, and we want to bring resources and help close deals and help provide the financial and other resources. But truly, we understand that of that $7 billion, that was hard work of all the counties and communities across the state, and we're just honored to have been a part of that. Again, as John said, we hit the ground running last year. The one thing Governor Ivey asked me to do as the new Department of Commerce Secretary is to create a new strategic plan. Our last strategic plan was done in 2012, updated in 16. So, obviously the world has changed a great deal in that time. So if you say it real fast, do an economic development strategy for the state, doesn't sound that hard until you really jump in there and think about the massive lift that truly is. So the way that we went about this is we really analyzed our existing strategic plan, the 2016 strategic plan, and compared it to our peers and national aspiration economic development organizations, and really kind of took a look at where we were. We then moved, with the help of McKinsey, a worldwide fabulous consultant, to really dive into the quantitative review of our state. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our existing targets? Where do we need to go? What opportunities are out there? And quite frankly, what are the challenges out there? And really took a quantitative approach to where we should be targeting our strategy. We then moved in to a really exciting phase of the strategic plan, is that we interviewed and got input from over 400 economic developers, elected officials, and business leaders across the state. That was done in 17 different focus groups. I know y'all hosted a focus group here, BBA did in Birmingham. We traveled throughout the entire state and got input on that strategic plan. And it was amazing how there were threads that were the same, but as we traveled from one end of the state to the other, there were really some very unique characteristics that we tried to include so that all parts of the state could see themselves in this strategic plan. And then the last part of it is the prepare and pursue initiatives. So we identified our targets, and then we put forth strategies to prepare ourselves and to pursue these targets. Quickly, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but here are the 8 targets that were identified, along with business services, which is headquarters, back office operations, that type of professional services, and logistics and distribution, which those two kind of cover all 8 sectors there. So this is where we have really dug in to provide our team and our state with very detailed prepare and pursue initiatives to present this plan. So we did present it to the governor late last summer, and she released it October 1st of last year. So we have been, again, working with this strategic plan now for about, I guess, 6 or 7 months as we really jumped into 2025 in this initiative. So one of the things that we found out in the strategic plan is the need for a public-private partnership that was really defined. We work very closely with our friends at BCA, with the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, with Manufacture Alabama, with Innovate Alabama, but we really needed that team of folks who can come around the table and very quickly help direct and guide us and do the heavy lifting that we needed to do. I know with BBA, and just like the Montgomery Chamber where I came from, we had a round table of our elected officials, our business leadership, and the professional economic developers of the area. And we would sit down together and work our program and our projects. And when we needed a business leader to pick up the phone and call somebody or open a door that we couldn't do, they were there to support us. We needed that same mechanism at the state level. And in the 2024 legislative, we created the Alabama Growth Alliance, which is led by the governor. It is the governor's vision. Economic development at the state level, I feel strongly, has to be led by the governor. But now we're providing not only elected official support, but strong business leader support. Here's the group, let's see. So here are the ex officio members, of course, chaired by Governor Ivey, and then the deputy co-chair is the Secretary of Commerce, which I've served in that role right now. We have our Speaker Pro Tem, our President Pro Tem of the Senate, our Speaker, Director Bill Poole, who not only is Finance Director, but leads Innovate Alabama, which is a really important part of this strategic plan. And then our minority leader in both the House and the Senate, Representative Daniels, and Senator Bobby Singleton. So this is a great group to come together to really help focus what needs to be done in the state. And this is a very powerful group to really help make that happen. Let's see if I can get this to advance. There we go. So these are the private folks that were nominated by the governor, the president pro tem, and the speaker. I mean, what an amazing group of business leaders this is, with Angus Cooper from Mobile, Helena Duncan, President and CEO of BCA out of Montgomery, Mac Malden from Northwest Alabama, Jimmy Raines from Southeast Alabama, of course, John Turner and Jeff Peoples, both from Birmingham, Allison Ross from Huntsville, and Bruce Culpepper from Sand Mountain area. This is an amazing group of business leaders who have come together and helped work magic already in economic development for the state. Our first real initiative that brought this team together was during our strategic planning session, and we compared ourselves to our sister peers and aspirational states that do economic development so very well. What was lacking was funding. It was amazing, the differential in our funding between what Alabama does and other states. And it's hard to compare apples to apples because every state Department of Commerce is a little bit different. But when you dig into the programmatic of it, it was very, very telling. And I've got an example later on that I'm going to show you in this presentation. But we were able, with the leadership of the governor and this team, to pass legislation very early on in the Senate that is going to quadruple the resources and finance available to the Department of Commerce. It impacts our ability to abate taxes, that we take just a little bit of the abatable taxes. That is allowed at the local level, and many of the local EDOs across the state were already doing it, but the state could not do it. So through the leadership of this team, we were able to very quickly and almost unanimously out of the legislature pass this piece of legislation that will provide almost $25 to $30 million a year into the Department of Commerce for economic development, to be invested back into the state to be able to capitalize on projects from around the world. So I'm very grateful to that team to get that accomplished. As John said, he did a very good job of doing my presentation. We'll let you come up here and finish it. But we were extremely excited to have the $7 billion in announcements last year in capital investments. Over 220 projects announced in the state. And this was really strong for an election year, because typically in an election year, a lot of these new projects kind of sit to the side and just kind of see how things wash out. And you can see many of our projects were existing industries, which is critical to be able to secure those jobs that are throughout the state. And I just wanted to show you, this is a real quick little graph, but you can see typically on election years that it is a little bit lower than the years previously and that follow it. But we had a very robust 2024, and I was very proud of our local economic developers and our state team, who really just did a great job and was successful. This is just a really quick breakdown. Here are our catalyst sectors. So this is going to be really important for us for next year as we benchmarked these. Here are our 8 targeted sectors with our 2 enabling sectors. We wanted to benchmark this. Now we've got strategic and very thoughtful programs that are going to go after targeting this. So pressure's on for us to make sure that all of these numbers grow significantly. So Shane, get to work out there. We got some targets here for you to focus in on, but we really do want to make sure, and we're going to benchmark to be sure what we are doing is working here. I just thought it was so impressive when we were looking at the data and the statistics that in Governor Ivey's tenure, over 2,000 projects have announced with over 90,000 jobs, and as she so always says, $55 billion, that's billion with a B, in capital investment in her tenure. That is incredibly significant, and her impact in this state is really quite a legacy she is leaving, and we are not done. We are going to add to these numbers for sure. I kind of want to talk very quickly about a couple of programs that began last year, and we're really starting to see the fruits of our labor here. One of the programs that we have found that have been extremely helpful is our SEEDS program. So the last few years, Alabama has been so successful, and I'll speak from even the local Montgomery area. We had over 7,000 acres of prepared industrial sites just a few years ago. Well, as of last year, it was down to less than 2,000 acres of prepared sites. Again, I'm so proud that we were able to bring new industry in, and those sites were, bought by some great companies. But if you do not have product, you cannot continue to recruit. So I will give credit to Greg Canfield, my predecessor, and I know the folks at Alabama Power were very involved in creating a program that would help the state help local communities identify and purchase and develop new industrial property that we could then go market as a state. So last year was our first round of funding. We had over $30 million awarded, and that was matched with almost $40 million at the local level. There were 29 sites around the state that were identified and have been developed, creating another 8,400 acres of industrial property in the state of Alabama. That was so successful, the legislative leadership granted us another round of funding, and we just awarded, just last month, almost $25 million awarded, matching with over $17 million of funding. Again, 29 industrial sites. That just happened by accident that it was the same number. But again, creating and developing over 8,500 acres of industrial sites that now we can go out and market around the world. So this program has been extremely helpful to all of our communities across the state as we try to get new product out there so that we have something to sell. Because without sites that are developed, that have utilities and infrastructure, we cannot even get in the game. So this was extremely successful, and we are asking for additional funding. So fingers crossed that we will have additional funding for the next round of SEEDS funding. Again, just focusing on some of the priorities for 2025. Last year, there was a set of workforce packages to really focus on creating and developing world-class workforce programs into the state. And that whole initiative is now led by the former President Pro Tem, Greg Reed. He is now part of Governor Ivey's administration and will lead the old Department of Labor, which is now the Department of Workforce Development. And one of our big priorities for 2025 is to support Secretary Reed and his efforts as he ramps up his program. We will have 6 departments of the Department of Commerce will move over as of July 1st to the new workforce office over there. And most of those are federal programs, and quite frankly, they really do belong all together. AIDT, our training program, will stay with Commerce, but the rest of our workforce initiatives will move to the old Department of Labor. So we're going to be there to support Secretary Reed in all of his efforts any way we can. The other, which is near and dear to the heart of the governor and many members of the legislature, is a more focused and expanded rural initiative. We hope to really develop, and with the help of the McKinsey Consulting Group, we are putting together a world-class rural initiative. We have hired 2 new grant writers. We've hired a new project manager. So we're building a team. We in the past have had one woman who is awesome, but she's one woman. And that was our rural initiative. We are now going to build out a team with grant writers, technical support to really get out and help the rural communities, because it is a huge challenge for so many of those communities to have the resources and the technical expertise to do what they need to do to be prepared for industry. The other is, of course, you saw the target sectors. We're really focusing on those target sectors, and with our project management team going out there to recruit industry from around the world. One Alabama, one Commerce. One of the things that we wanted to do is really, truly meld with our statewide economic development partners. I feel like we've always been rowing in the same direction with BCA, EDPA, Innovate Alabama, but we weren't in the same boat. And that's what we're trying to do now, is all get in the same boat. So those efforts go so much farther when we're all rowing together in the same boat. And it is just an honor to be able to work with leaders like Helena Duncan, Greg Barker, EDPA, and now Miller Gervin, just world-class economic developers, Cynthia Crutchfield with Innovate. It's just a great group of leaders that all do not care who gets the credit, but we're just too small of a state to have these independent efforts, and we really are focusing our efforts on working together in a much more elevated way. Addressing infrastructure challenges. I talked about the site problems that we have had in the past. Now energy availability is a huge driver in our recruitment efforts. So having the energy to actually sell and to actually have available is one of the top 3, really concerning problems facing economic development today. So we have worked very closely with our friends from Alabama Power, TVA, Power South, to have some legislation which will be dropped today, I'm told, right now as we speak. That package of bills we have been working on now for about 6 months, and we're excited to be able to hopefully bring some resources from the state to these local communities to be able to provide the energy availability need by these amazing projects that are out there now that are very heavily energy dominated. And then quality of place. This is an area that, quite frankly, the state really hasn't focused on, but I can tell you in my many years of experience in economic development, and I'm embarrassed to say how many leave, don't raise your hand and offer that, but it has changed so much, those factors that impact economic development. When we started, it was all about cheap land, cheap labor, incentives. But now it has changed as we talked about energy availability, site availability, and the quality of place has become such an important driver because companies want to come to communities that they can retain their talent and attract talent. And if your community isn't attractive to skilled folks, then companies don't want to come here. So we are really going to be looking, this is a huge paradigm shift for the state, and with some of the new funds that we hope to realize over the next couple of years, we really want to put an effort in developing a program that will assist local communities in making their quality of place even better and more attractive to their local folks and companies from around the world. So a lot more to come on that. And one last thing, and I know I've got like 5 minutes real quick to finish up here. You know, we talked about what was setting us apart from our peers and our aspirational goal EDOs from around the country. Like, what is setting us apart? And as I said, when we dug down into some programmatic things, one of the things that really, really hit me hard was this international office count. So we currently have one office in Stuttgart, Germany, that we have a wonderful representative there who's been with us for several years now, but he only works, we're only funding him 6 days a month. So we basically have a third of an office. So our efforts with some of this new funding we'll be getting is creating new offices around the world. We know our greatest investors in our state are from Germany, Korea, and Japan. And those 3 countries make up the majority of the foreign direct investment in our state. But you can look at what our competition is doing. And so this is an effort that we will immediately solve to change, and we are hoping right now to triple our effort in Stuttgart and to open the offices in Japan and Korea later this year. So we'll be again more on that, but the numbers don't lie. I know it's really hard to see, but you can take a look. Alabama with 1 office, North Carolina with 7 offices around the world. They have over 1,700 foreign-based firms in their state, and they have attracted, over the last 10 years, over 600 new projects from around the world, foreign direct investment projects. So I really think there's a strong correlation between having those offices that every day somebody wakes up and is working in Korea or Stuttgart or Japan, and they are working to recruit. I will say Georgia has an office in Korea that has 3 full-time people. In the last 5 years, they have attracted over $15.5 billion of investment from Korea. So it is really, I think, a direct correlation from the work that's being done there. So we really look to have this open and hit the ground running later this year. So at that point, I know we've got a couple minutes. If I get a really hard question, Steve, I'm calling on you to answer that. So, yes, sir. That's a great question. So what you saw, that we had 8 new bio projects last year. That was the number of projects we recruited. So yes, you saw probably on the target that bioscience is a targeted sector for us. As a matter of fact, we are in the process of and I'll take resumes right here, looking for a project manager who specializes in bioscience, and all of our project managers are now in specialties because there's just so much to learn and know about when you're recruiting those sectors. So yes, bioscience is a huge effort for us. And then the second part of that question, of what are the top 3 things that are looked for, I guess, are what factors that companies look for. So as I said, workforce is always going to be a huge one. But the sidebar to the workforce is what keeps the workforce is quality of place. So that is becoming, that wasn't even on the list a few years back, and that is growing faster and faster. The availability of energy. It is amazing, and our Alabama Power folks can tell you, I mean, years ago, the demand for a typical project was nothing compared. It is exponentially higher because of AI and the sophisticated nature of these projects. The demand for energy now is really impacting our ability to be able, to recruit in certain parts of the state. So we are fortunate to have strong Alabama Power in central Alabama, and they have done a great job. But we want to encourage that. And the availability of sites. I mean, not only in Alabama, but really across the country, there has been a huge influx of projects, and the ability to have sites that are ready, not Farmer Jones's 200 acres that cows sitting on now, but fully developed industrial sites. That's what it takes to compete. You don't have time to do, soil borings, wetland delineations, or geotech. You've got to have that done in advance and be able to present that. So to have sites, to have energy, to have quality of place and workforce definitely are our top issues. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Hearing all the limitations around industrial development, be it sites, product, power, sitting in Birmingham, we have a couple million square feet of ready to go Class A office space. What are we doing to attract white collar jobs, given we have a product here that's ready to go?
So traditionally, because of the multiplier effect and the ability to be able to capture incentives, the state, and this is true with all states, has focused on industrial development because it does create the markets for everything else. And as a sector, when you cut it down as a sector, it is the highest paying traditionally. So, because you'll have white collar that will go from one extreme to the other. So to be able for the state to engage in recruitment, we've got to be able to capture any incentives. And when a company like Hyundai or Mercedes drops $3 billion into the ground in a community, you can be sure they're invested and they're going to stay there, and there's a way for us to claw back if they do not hit their targets. White-collar office jobs are a lot harder to do. They're a lot harder for the state, again, to be engaged. And at the local level in Montgomery, we worked on that white-collar initiative, but it was at the local level with incentives that we could provide and do. We will support in every way possible any local efforts to recruit, but as a state, Birmingham, Huntsville, maybe Montgomery and Mobile have the opportunity to attract headquarters, but it's very few. It's, Abbeville has got Great Southern Wood, and that is an amazing headquarter operation for them. But there's very few examples of headquarters other than outside the urban areas. So we will support all local efforts to recruit white-collar jobs to a community, and we work very closely with our industrial projects to bring in R&D and testing and back office operations to be able to serve that. But we really are a little bit limited because other than truly Birmingham, that effort really is a local effort. Not a whole lot of a lot of communities in the state could be successful in recruiting other than from the ground up, which we work very closely with Innovate Alabama to help create new companies to develop in the hometowns that they're in. I hope that explained a little bit. Yes, sir.
First, thank you for your efforts. Most appreciated. Certainly, quality of life issues are very important to the economic development. As companies look to move to Alabama, I'm sure there are a number of factors that they take into account. How much are we investing in education? How much are we investing in creating a strong workforce? But I submit to you, they're also looking at what kind of healthcare system. And I would like to comment on the fact that
Yeah, you've gone, okay, Lee, Shane, you've gone a little outside my area when you get into Medicaid. We have whole state agencies that focus on that. So our small agency, we are the marketing arm. I can say that the ability of healthcare in the majority of the state is available. Of course, Birmingham, it's excellent. Huntsville, excellent programs. Where we're really seeing it is in the rural areas, and we are really trying, and again, this is outside my expertise, so it's going to be very high level, because we really, while every single thing you identified is a factor of economic development, we're a team of 40 project managers that, whether it's crime or education or healthcare, we have whole organizations and entities that deal with that. So we're, at the 35,000-foot level. But quality of place, even just the way a community appears, and I will use Abbeville as an example. We have a family farm on the other side of Abbeville. I've been driving through that community all my adult life. And in the last few years, just the change in the facade, it has changed that whole community and the pride of that community. I mean, there's no new buildings, there's no new major infrastructure. It was just the lighting and facade and signage has just made all the difference. So as far as quality of place, I think there's a lot that can be done that is extremely helpful. Is education, again, a whole group of folks, a lot smarter than me, have been dealing with that, and we had a whole package of bills last year totally focused on education and workforce development. As I said, Senator Reid, Secretary Reid now, is leading that effort. They've got over 800 people on their team that are really working to solve that, and they'll have their new strategic plan by October 1 of this year. We delivered our strategic plan to them October 1 of last year. They then took the ball rolling of how they can build a workforce around those targeted sectors. So we're working very closely with them on their plan. And then again, with the healthcare, it is a huge issue. I mean, absolutely, positively. I wish I had the answers to that, but we have to deal and market as best we can with what we have, in hopes that our legislature and our leaders in this state come with other solutions. So,
All right. Very good.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, Secretary McNair, for all that you are doing for the state of Alabama. A lot of accomplishment in your tenure, and we really appreciate that. And thank you for sneaking away from Montgomery, and I know what is a very busy time with the legislative session and otherwise. So thanks again for being here. In appreciation of your time with us here today, we're making a donation in your name to the United Way of Central Alabama. So thank you very much. We hope you all will join us next Tuesday, April 8th. We look forward, as Carrie mentioned, to recognizing the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II with a special fireside chat reflecting on America then and now, with our own Kiwanians, Colonel Ed Rao and Jeff McCormick. So look forward to that one, and we hope to see you there. We've got a fantastic lineup of programs coming up over the next several months. Following next week, we will have the Youth of the Year luncheon that Carrie mentioned, featuring Allie B. Gorey. After that, Rob Perigin, Vice Chancellor of Sewanee. Then we'll have our Jones Valley Teaching Farm event that Carrie mentioned, and then Bill Harris, Director of the FDR Presidential Library and Museum, and many more to follow. So please commit to this time on your calendars. We look forward to seeing you. Have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned.